Welcome to East Bay Church of Religious Science, where spirit abounds, love overflows, and spiritual transformation begins. Welcome home.
As I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is. It brings me to my knees. I surrender. I am peace. As I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is. It brings me to my knees. I surrender. I am peace.
Oh, how good it is to surrender into that which is the divine, the love, the peace, the joy, the wholeness, the divine presence of the one life. This one life is all that there is. And I surrender into this divine idea, knowing that it speaks its word right now into the divine perfection of its law as love. And I know that the East Bay Church of Religious Science is a transformative presence on the planet. That all that has gone into this service is done and heard and received and given in such love, in such power, in such peace. Through this idea of service. And so I know that all who are present right here, right now, in conscious awareness, is blessed. I'm thankful for and bless the Board of Trustees, the ecclesiastical ministries, all of the ministers, the practitioners, the youth and family ministry, the music ministry, the AV teams, and all of the volunteers that come in service, in love. And I know that the word that is brought today by the very Reverend Dereca Blackmon is already blessed, it is anointed, it is perfect for this time. And so with absolute surrender into this love, this peace, this power. I let it be, knowing that all is well in God. Yes, it is. So I release it unto the divine and perfect action of the law, and let love reign. Ashe, amen, and so it is.
As I say a tender yes to everything that's done to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is. It brings me to my knees. I surrender. I am peace. As I say a tender yes to everything that comes to me, my heart is open, I am free. I open to all that is. It brings me to my knees. I surrender. I am peace. I surrender. I am peace. I surrender. I am peace.
Greetings, family. Welcome again to the East Bay Church of Religious Science. And if you're joining us for the very first time, we welcome you to our community, to our family of unconditional love and the practice of these divine sacred principles that allow us to know that right where you are, God is, and all is well. My name is Carol Johnson Williams, and it's my honor and pleasure to always serve, and serving in the position of pulpit assistant this very moment. And I'd like to invite you to join us as we say our congregational affirmation. It's God is the only power in my life. And if we were all in the sanctuary together, we'd be standing right now. So if you choose so, you may decide to just stand up and say it with all that power and gusto and get it in your body. God is the only power in my life. Nothing from without can touch the perfect life of God within me. No past experience has power over me. I am a perfect child of God, and nothing that anyone has ever done or said can interfere with my divine inheritance. The power of God is greater than any circumstance in my life. The strength of God is mine to use. Turning away from all feelings of inadequacy, I discover that all that I need is within me right now. As I forgive the past, I find that I have nothing to atone for and nothing to run away from. Casting off the old me, I discover my true self. I take dominion in my life. Old habits have no power over me. Conditions have no power over me. Personalities have no power over me. I take dominion. I am whole. I am free. I am complete right now and forevermore. And so it is. Yes. Ooh, I want to thank all of those who have come together to make this service possible. And it does take a team. There are fewer than 10 of us in this room, but it takes a team. And so we have a virtual team that includes Paris Page, who's holding the virtual prayer box. Those prayers in your heart, he's holding them with you. Virtual vigil is being held by Rebecca Clemens. Our coordinator today is Hope Anderson. And we have service, we have prayer after service where there are practitioners, there are spiritual prayer practitioners who are licensed and trained to pray with you. So you don't have to leave anything, you don't have to continue your day with anything holding you. You can let that go with the practitioners. There are Deborah Adams, Bathsheba Harambe, and Helen Anderson. On our AV team, we also have the awesome and amazing Brett Richards, J.J. Harris, and Arlene King. Today, we also have, and ongoing throughout our months, we have so much happening at the East Bay Church of Religious Science through the community. And today, we want to invite you to join us for community visioning. We are moving into a new era, a new vision, and we want to catch that vision in community. You will find the link in the chat, and that will occur on Zoom at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And now I would like to introduce someone who really needs no introduction because she is our very own Irreverent Reverend, the Reverend Dereca Blackmon. She practices what she teaches what she practices, and she challenges us to expand our own conscious awareness. So without further ado, Reverend Dereca Blackmon.
Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. We are right there with you. As has been said, my name is Reverend Dereca Blackmon. I use she and they gender pronouns, and I always like to let you know what my gender pronouns are because you can't tell what they are by looking at me. And I want to thank our amazing pulpit assistant, Carol Johnson-Williams, for setting the tone for what we are about today. The grace and passion that she brings to the pulpit is always an inspiration to me and to all of us. So thank you, Carol. Today, our topic is going to be Name Yourself, and I'm so excited about this special tribute to the show Lovecraft Country and its New Thought Principles. I'm also so excited to have back with us my favorite, the women's ensemble. Just so grateful for their energy, their power, their passion, their harmony. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce them and the song, My Name is Victory. I bring you Sharon D. Henderson, Deborah Tisdale, Martha Mangle, Fabiana Crenshaw, Mark Rickey, and Lee Henderson. My name is Victory.
I know I've got evidence, I've got confidence, I'm a conqueror, I know that I win, I know who I am. God wrote it in His plan for me. Whoa, my name is Victory. Whoa, my name is Victory. Oh, God gave me authority to conquer the fear in me. God wrote in my destiny that my name is Victory. God said I would overcome. God said I've already won. God wrote in my destiny that my name is Victory. I know who I am. God wrote it in His plan for me. Whoa, my name is Victory. Whoa, my name is Victory. Oh, God gave me authority to conquer the fear in me. God wrote in my destiny that my name is Victory. God said I would overcome. God said I've already won. God wrote in my destiny that my name is Victory. I know who I am. God wrote it in His plan for me. Whoa, my name is Victory. Whoa, my name is Victory. I know my identity. My name is Victory. I know my
What is my name? My name is Victory. Thank you so much to our amazing women's ensemble, just lifting us up with the answer to the whole question for today is, what is my name? And so I want to thank Sharon D. Henderson, Deborah Tisdale, Martha Mangle, Fabiana Crenshaw, and Mark Rickey on piano, and Lee Henderson on bass. My name is Victory. And that is our question today. What is my name? Because I've been inspired, like some of you, by this amazing show on HBO called Lovecraft Country. And I've been watching it over the course of the season. And I have to tell you, it's an amazing show, but there are a couple times where it got a little much for me, and some of you may have heard it's a little scary, it's a little gory. I'm going to admit that that has happened a little bit, but when I got to episode 7, which is named I Am, I had the deep realization that this reason why I had been carrying on, even when I sometimes had to watch it in the daytime, is because I felt something in the show that was powerful. I felt something in it that was moving me, that was connecting deeply to what I know to be true. And the episode is called I Am. And see, I recognize this thought because it's so central to what we teach in the New Thought movement. And I was intrigued when I saw the title. I said, well, now what is this going to be about? And it was about what I thought it would be about, and so much more. Some people are calling it a love letter to Black women, so you already know what that means to me. And I've already said on so many occasions that if we can focus our attention on healing the most marginalized in our society, the low-income trans women with disabilities that are people of color, if we can heal those folks, we can heal the whole planet. So I say that to you because I'm going to focus on Black women, and just know that whatever healing happens for Black women heals the entire world. So just breathe and know that I'm talking about something that's a gift to me that is also a gift to you. So I watched the show, and then I was encouraged to also listen to the podcast Lovecraft Country. And like so many sisters told me when I listened to it, it just deepened my understanding, my experience, the resonance that I had with the spiritual principles that are behind the message of this show all throughout, but just for me, culminated in this episode 7, this love letter to Black women. So I want to say that today is a tribute to the bold brilliance of one of the main characters that I'm going to talk about today, Miss Hippolyta Freeman. Let's go on and say Freeman, because of course that's important. I want to talk about the absolute genius of Shannon Houston, who was the lead writer on the show, and then the brilliant insights that happened when she was in conversation with Ashley Ford in the podcast. So Hippolyta is this amazing, brilliant woman. Some people call her one of the characters from Hidden Figures. She's got that math and that science going on in her head. And she's married to the wonderful George Freeman, and they have a daughter, Dee. And they go out, George goes out in the world, and he does this travel guide for Black folks. And he goes to places and helps figure out at this time period, which is a time of segregation, what are safe places on the road that Black people can stop. And he goes out and does these things, and his daughter Dee sends him off with a science fiction comic book that she makes. And his wife Hippolyta, she really wants to go with him. And she tries to convince him in different ways that she should go. And George is just this wonderful man. And he's like, baby, it's not safe out here. I need you to stay home. And you can sense her disappointment in that. And so as things would have it, there's a time in which George is not there, and Hippolyta begins to take the work on of doing the guide. And as she begins to do this work, she makes some discoveries that are very key and central to the plot of the show. So I'm going to try to give you not a lot of spoilers, but it's important that you understand that she makes some very important discoveries that move this show forward. And as she makes a discovery, she has an opportunity to be transported into what the show calls a multiverse, right? Not just an alternate universe, a multiverse. I love this concept because this is what we teach in this New Thought teaching, that there are all kinds of realities within the one thing, and the most important one is the one that we choose to move into. Last time I was here, we talked about this New Thought symbol and its creative power. So this is the moment that Hippolyta finds herself in. She's sucked into the multiverse. And it's kind of looks like space. Her first stop kind of looks like space. There's a spaceship and some space people who come and guide her on board. And she's in this white room. It kind of reminds me, remember Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson in the Scream? It's just all white. I want to get the picture for you everywhere. It's just, and then she can't get out. Feels like she's blocked in. And at one point, the doors open, and this powerful being, this black woman in a silver space suit with an afro that goes all the way around to the side, just looking like regality herself, walks in. And Hippolyta's like, well, nah, this is not what I was expecting. She's looking like, and she does what we do so often when we're confronted with our first experience of God, the goddess energy. The first time, what we tend to do is ask some questions. So she looks at this figure and she says, well, who are you? And even more, what are you? Isn't this the way we are in the nature of God? Well, who are you? What are you? We've been told so many things about the personification of God in human beings and the ever-presence of God in nature and love. And we're confused sometimes. God, who are you? What are you? Right? And this is how she confronts the presence, and the presence says, I am. So I was already, y'all New Thought folks know that I was in 2,000% in with both feet dived in the deep end of the pool, because I am the I am. Oh, now that's some good stuff. That's some good stuff that's in all the major religions. Like, don't question me, I'm all of what it is. Okay, all right, I am. And so the doors close, and Hippolyta's back in the room, and she's trying to figure out a way out. See, because this is what we do, isn't it? So here we are in the presence of the Most High Divine, and what we're trying to do is use our brain to figure out how to get out of whatever circumstance we find ourselves in. We're like, oh, okay, this is not where I'm supposed to be. Something is blocking me, so let me figure it out. I don't know about you, but I've most certainly had that experience where God seems to be gone off somewhere and I'm on my own, and what I think I need to do is figure it out. So Hippolyta's all in her head. She's trying to figure out the math and science. She didn't start taking things apart and disconnecting stuff, and stuff is floating, and she's feeling real smart, and it's not working. And the doors open, and here come I am, right? All that is just knocked her on her tail. Don't we feel like that happens sometimes? Like, God, I'm trying to figure it out. And, I thought I was, that's what they say in the Bible about the Tower of Babel, men just trying to, go ahead, figure it out with any involvement from any kind of spiritual guidance or insight. And Hippolyta's mad. She ready to fight. Anybody ever been ready to fight God? I mean, I know it's just me, but it might be you. And so she's fighting, and like her energy is, let me out. And I am looks at her and says, you are not in prison. See, she's looking at the futility of Hippolyta fighting, right? Kind of like how we look at, a young toddler or a young child just throwing the tantrum. She look at her like, you are not in prison. And she gives her the instruction. She says, name yourself. But Hippolyta's not listening because, like so many of us, she's just ready to fight. And when we're ready to fight, we're not listening to that divine insight. We just getting ready to go for ours, right? God don't know. It's nothing for me to get here. I'm on my own. I got to figure it out. And then when we do all of our figuring, we finally get tired. And we get to this moment that Hippolyta gets to where we have to admit that we just don't understand. We kind of fall apart. And there's this moment where Hippolyta is lying on the ground and I is standing over her. And she says, name yourself. And Hippolyta is just like, I don't even know what you are what are you talking about? And see, then the moment happens. See, the moment we realize, recognize, and admit that we don't know how to figure it out is the moment we surrender to let the divine insight show us what to do. It's when we actually open our ears, open our heart, open our spirit to being led by that thing that is the I am. And so Hippolyta's lying there. She goes, I don't know what you're talking about. She says, name yourself. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And Hippolyta just laughs like, okay, well, all right, God, I'll try you. Right, and then we come to prayer sometime like, I don't even know what to pray for, but I want a, fancy car. I want this job. I want that person. And suddenly Hippolyta comes up with like what probably for her, like it might be for us, is just the most ridiculous thing. Just, I don't know, I want to be dancing on stage with Josephine Baker. Now see, this is how the divine idea works. Right then, right there, not later, not some other time, not some better thing that we decide to be, not in judgment, but just you plant the seed, I am the soil, and here is the fruit. Boom. Hippolyta's on stage dancing with Josephine Baker. Now she's sitting there like some of us like, oh, I didn't know I was going to get what I asked for. I don't even know the steps. Don't you ever get something you ask for and then you like, oh, I don't know if I should have asked for that because I don't really know what I'm doing. And she on stage dancing with everybody with Josephine Baker and she's delighted. She is in Paris, the city of light. She is looking at Josephine Baker. She can't even keep up with the steps because she's just looking at her like, that's Josephine Baker. And that's how we get sometimes. We get the thing that we ask for, the job that we ask for, the relationship that we ask for, and then we just kind of just gawking like, I can't believe it's true. Now, see, in many movies and TV shows and books, this moment lasts a second. But what I love about Shannon Houston is that Hippolyta gets to stay. So she is there hanging out with some good length of time with Josephine Baker till she just got all the moves and she is in her full super cool in Paris. She got all the friends, all the connections. You can just feel her feeling herself. And it's just like, ooh, you're happy for her. And there's something inside me that was happy for me. You know that feeling when you relate to a character who is successful, who is pleased, who has a good life, and you're like, ooh, I kind of have a glimpse just of what that might feel like to be in my fullness, right? So one day, Hippolyta and Josephine Baker are sitting there talking, because now Hippolyta is so cool. She could just sit around and talk to Josephine Baker. It's a whole different world, you know. When you start to embrace your fullness, it's a whole different world. So they're sitting around talking, and Hippolyta's recognizing that while Josephine is the belle of the ball and the talk of the town, that it's not everything to her. Josephine Baker talks about seeing herself as she feels like a star. And Hippolyta goes, you are a star girl. She goes, no, not a entertainment star. Anybody can do that, not a celebrity. I'm talking about a star in the sky. I feel like a star. And there's this greater than great. And this is something we see sometimes. We want to admire people who we think are successful. And what we don't know is there's even greater things that they aspire to. And sometimes even the people we think have the most still have the most ambition to be even more. And Hippolyta has this moment where she's thinking about home and whether she can go back there. And she talks about how hard it is for her to imagine going back to the place where she felt so small. Like, she talks about how the now that she is, the who that she is, doesn't fit in that place that felt so small. And she talks about the racism that she experienced all her life. And she gives, I'm not going to give every sentence away in the show, but she gives a profound insight. And the insight brings up the anger. And Josephine Baker says to her, doesn't it make you angry? And before a second can pass, Hippolyta looks at her, she says, furious. Makes her furious. And there is this moment where Hippolyta confronts that even in the midst of all her joy, there is an anger that's boiling inside of her. And so she takes another journey where she gets an opportunity to confront her anger and bring on her inner warrior and love and take care of her anger and honor it. And even as she succeeds in that environment and becoming a Dahomey warrior, because see, Hippolyta is the name of the Greek Amazon warriors, which are fictional characters. But of course, this Hippolyta goes and becomes a Dahomey warrior, which are real women warriors. And so we're going to just let you do your research on that. So she goes and she has this experience of being a conqueror who is unapologetic for her fire, for her passion, for her anger, unapologetically being in that space. And then she has a moment where she realizes there's something else that she wants to reconcile and experience and deal with. And she says, I am Hippolyta, George's wife. And now she goes back to the time and she's with George and they're lying there in bed. And oh, if you've been watching the show the whole time, you're just feeling the joy of like, look at George is here. They laying in bed and it's so happy. And you just want them to have this moment of joy and love. But see, here's what's so brilliant about the show. Shannon Houston said this episode is supposed to be the journey that's like therapy. And so Hippolyta's lying there, but she realizes there's another truth that she has to tell. She realizes there's something else that has to be said. See, when you're in therapy, you just can't gloss over it. You're here to uncover it, and you're going to have to speak about what it is that you find. And this is where I get into Gay Hendricks and one of my favorite books, The Big Leap, because she's sitting there with George, and Gay Hendricks says, behind every communication problem is a sweaty 10-minute conversation that we don't want to have. But Hippolyta's up for it now. She's been in this process of naming herself. She's been very intentional that she's got to go back to George and have the sweaty conversation. And she says to him, I've been shrinking myself. For as long as I can remember, I've been shrinking myself, and you have helped me. And at first, George is like, defensive, like, but I've always believed in you. And when I married you, I knew you were a curious soul. And then he stops himself. Lord, give thanks for somebody who can stop themselves and realize the truth of what you've said to them. Woo! He says, you're right. I have. Because George was going off on the journey, and he got to go off on the journey because he had Hippolyta home taking care of Dee and making sure the home was safe. And he says, you're right. You're right. And one of the things they talked about, Ashley and Shannon talked about in the podcast, of how difficult that kind of anger is. The sort of says, how do you say when somebody hands you cake, but where is my frosting? because you feel like you shouldn't be saying that. But she said on the podcast, but cake is supposed to come with frosting. That's part of the deal, right? And so there's this moment where Hippolyta's able to say, I've been shrinking myself. And so she's sitting there on the bed, and she doesn't decide to just stay. She has this deeper realization that I hope for every human being on the planet. She realizes the truth, the capital T truth of who she is. And she says, she names herself again, and she says, I am Hippolyta, the discoverer. And suddenly she's back again, and guess what? She got the spacesuit on. Now at Hippolyta, of course, her spacesuit is fresh. It's got the little hoop skirt, and it's got she got the little bubble. Her hair is blue. She is killing the game. And Hippolyta goes forward, and guess who is with her? Behind her, she took his hand as she went, and here come George. Here come George with her, following her on her journey. She is discovered, and George gets an opportunity, because here's the thing. If we step into the truth of who we are, it frees everybody around us. It doesn't leave anybody behind. It brings them along. So here they are together on a journey, which in truth is really what George wanted all along. But they had to create a new dimension, a new space in which this could happen, a literal space in which this could happen. As you can see, I was deeply enthralled. I was the metaphysics of it, the new thought of it. I was like, whoo, every single moment. So there they are. But now here comes, Shannon Houston fought for another really hard moment. Because first they're in this moment of claiming yourself. Ernest Holmes says about that, there is something within you that sings the song of eternity. Listen to it. Right? So this is what happens. When we really, really step into our greatness and get clear about what that is, we listen to it. But now there's a complication, a wrinkle in time, as it were. The complication is Dee, their daughter, is left back at home. And so now Hippolyta has to do the thing that's hard for so many of us to do. She has to make a decision. Does she continue on in this new life where she gets to be fully herself, or does she go back home? Now, every story you've ever seen, every movie you've ever witnessed, all of them say she's a mama. She gonna go back home. And Shannon Houston said they fought in the writer's room, and she was like, no, sometimes we just want to be like, I got to make this choice, because it's a gendered thing, right? Nobody says to the discoverer, right? How many movies have you said where, scene where the man has to go out and just pursue his truth, and he has to go take the hard path of leaving his family so he can go and fulfill his mission? Now, I'm not saying any of this is right or wrong, and neither are they. It's just complicated, and that's how our lives are. And so this was the moment where I really began to think about the book, The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks. This is one of my favorite books, because what he talks about is something called the upper limit problem. And like us, Hippolyta has this dilemma, because what he says, Gay Hendricks says, is the upper limit problem is our limited tolerance for feeling good. It's the idea that when it gets really good, we do something to sabotage. I mean, you might not know what I'm talking about, that moment where you are in a great relationship and for whatever reason you can't understand, you start a fight. Or you have this really great job, but you've got this insecurity that you don't deserve this really great job, so you do something to sabotage this really great. You might not know what I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about. So it's the upper limit problem that is our limited tolerance for having a good life. And I love that Gay Hendricks helps us explore why this is. He says that there are 4 hidden barriers that are the foundations of the upper limit problem. Number 1, it's feeling fundamentally flawed. He believes that the big leap is a leap into your zone of genius, but if you feel fundamentally flawed, maybe somebody taught you from a very young age that you're not enough, that you're not good enough, that you're a fraud in some kind of way. If you feel fundamentally flawed, then you might be afraid that even in your genius, you'd still fail. That even if you claimed your very best life, you'd be found out to not be deserving or worthy or talented or smart or kind or pretty, whatever stuff we make up that says we're not enough. That is the first hidden barrier. The second one is disloyalty and abandonment. If I am great, I'm going to leave somebody behind. This is the idea of D. Right? If I'm great, I've got to make this choice, and people are going to feel like I've abandoned them if I go for me and my dream and my gift and I live to the fullest. Some people are going to feel like I left them behind. And so I'm afraid of that, and it keeps me shrinking. It keeps me from living my best life. And number 3 is believing that more success equals a bigger burden. What did the hip-hop rappers say? More money, more problems. Right? And we sort of see some evidence of that in our society. There's a constant narrative that people get, and then there's just more to worry about. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that success equals some other kind of deficit. That is limited thinking. What we want to talk about is the presence of prosperity and peace, that these things can coexist, that all the good that is for us is going to create good for the world. And this is something we should explore. If you believe that success is going to bring a bigger burden, that's a hidden belief, a hidden barrier that is your upper limit problem. And 4, and this one I resonated with, is the crime of outshining, right? We turn down our light just a little bit because we've been taught that it's wrong to outshine anyone else. But that's not the goal. It's not outshining, it's just shining. And when we're shining, if somebody else is shrinking, that's not our problem. What we are here to do is be the light of the world. And when we really are that, in a peaceful way, in a powerful way, in a divine way, not in an egotistical, I'm outshining you, but I am just shining. When that happens, it brings everyone forward because it gives everyone else the permission they need to shine. So I'm asking us to give ourselves the permission to shine and not be involved in the business of turning down our light. Or the other thing we do is we shine and then we kind of try to play it off and minimize it like we don't enjoy it. Ooh, I was so guilty of this for so long. Like, you might give me a compliment. I'll be like, ooh, girl, you don't know. It's hard or this or that. Anything to minimize that moment when I'm in the spotlight. The moment when somebody sees the divinity in me. If I shrink in it, then they shrink in it. I can't be enough. Well, then they can't be enough. And this is just the hidden barrier that keeps us from our zone of genius. On the podcast, I'm trying to tell you, this was a moment where I just felt like all my beliefs were integrated. On the podcast, the sister said, it's easier to survive if we are small because we believe it's easier to be looked over than picked on. I'd rather just be ignored than have myself someplace where people could attack me. And so I just want to close with this. A quote from Ernest Holmes. One of the things that I love about our Ernest Holmes, the founder of this religion, is that he was so poetic in the things that he said. And so I want to bring you this quote because it inspired me. It is the moment where I felt all of these things, the big leap that Hippolyta took and the reality of who we are, they all came together in a way that allows us to know the truth. And he said, Ernest Holmes said, we have within us a power that is greater than anything we shall ever contact in the outer. He said, we have a power that can overcome every obstacle in our lives, and it can set us safe and satisfied and at peace. We have a power that can provide for our healing and our prosperity. We have a power that can put us not only in a new light, but in a new life. So my invitation to you, if you are willing to accept it today, is to be like Hippolyta. And stop turning down your light. Stop shrinking yourself. My invitation to you today is to go within and figure out who you really are and state it. To name yourself and allow yourself to rise up.
Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up and walk with God. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up and walk with God.
So the invitation today is to just remember that God is all there is. There is a divine light right within us that guides us and blesses us and knows us and names us. And if we allow ourselves to remember, I am that thing. I am the divinity. The question that I ask to the I am, it asks right back to me, who are you? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Name yourself. And so I am one with I am. I am the I am. And because I know this, I speak my word right now. And I declare that my name is victory, that I am a conqueror, that I am the presence of peace, that I am the bridge between the haves and the have-nots, the knows and the don't knows, the hate this side and the hate the other side. I am the one that I have been waiting for. I am a healer. I am the presence of peace, and everything that is true for me is true for every person within the sound of my voice, and is true for every person everywhere, regardless of appearances, regardless of position, regardless of political party, regardless of the hate that's in the heart. I know that there is no spot where God is not, that there is no place that God doesn't have dominion, and I need to know right now. I need to know in this world right now that there is nothing that is outside the presence and power of God. I need to know, so I know it. I know it to be true for me. I know it to be true for every one of us. And so I just speak that there is freedom like there has never been before, that as the old way falls away, that as a new day is dawning, I have an opportunity to name myself all over again, to claim the fullness of my greatness, to stand up straight, to walk up tall, to free myself from all the shrinking, the turning down of my light that ever happened. I give thanks for knowing who I am. I give thanks for the power of God to speak to me in the still quiet of the night and say, don't forget who you are. I give thanks for every person who showed up to hear this message. I give thanks for the singing that brings our attention, for the prayer that grounded us, for the meditation that set the tone. I give thanks for you, because it's not a service unless you are here. And I know that this word touches everyone. It touches everyone, and it changes everything only because I let go. Only because I stopped fighting God. Only because I recognize that it's not my power, my talent, my fighting, my brain. It's none of those things that makes me me. It's the surrender to the divinity in me, and the trust that that divinity is in everyone. So I speak to it, and I let my word go, and I let God do what God is doing for every single one of us if we just remember to name ourselves and let God do the rest. So I let go, and I let God, And I invite you to join me right wherever you are and say to yourself, Ashe, Amen, and so it is.
Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up and walk with God. Don't you know? Don't you know you got to rise up? Don't you know you got to rise up? Well, don't you know you got to rise up? Don't you know you got to rise up and walk with God? Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up and walk with God. One more time, say, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up and walk with God.
Woo! You better give it up for that women's ensemble today. Sharon D. Henderson, Deborah Tisdale, Martha Mango, Fabiana Cranshaw, Mark Rickey on piano, and Lee Henderson on bass. Woo! I think the word has been spoken here today. I think there's an opportunity to know that if we name ourselves, we will rise up. And so I just want to give thanks for the East Bay Church, for the ministers, for the board, for the volunteers, for the practitioners, and for you, because you are actually making this place a community. There's opportunities for you if you want to contribute to this space. It's important that right now we give freely in the world. Whether you give here or you give somewhere else, please just be in the spirit of giving, because it creates a flow and an energy. So there's ways for you to do that. You can mail a check, you can text, you can go to the website. There's lots of opportunities. There's a beautiful thing happening in this church, in this community. There's sacred activism, there's service to give food to the community, and there's prayer. Every single day there's prayer, there's meditation, there's spaces. We want you to take advantage of that and be a part of it. And if it moves you to give on a regular basis, that's a beautiful opportunity, because we're in the process actually of moving this church forward in a powerful way. But as we get evaluated by the financial powers that be, they want to know what is our guaranteed income. So that's where your regular repetitive donation is valuable. But as I said, just give somewhere. That's what's most important. We have visioning today. If you're actually thinking, okay, I'm in. I want to be a part of what this ministry is doing. Visioning is happening at 1:00. Prayer is available after service. Don't hold something on in your heart like that you need to go back and clean up and let go of. That can happen today. There are some prayer warriors praying after this service today, so take advantage of that. And so I want to just thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for continuing to bless us by watching these services, by sharing them with other people. We feel so honored by your participation. And so right where you are, I just recognize that God is with us everywhere. It's true about me. It's true about you. And so I just bless you as you go upon your day, your week, your new life. And I just let go. And I say amen. And I just turn it over one more time to our women's ensemble as they take us home with I Expect a Miracle.
expect a miracle right now, a miracle today, a miracle. I believe a miracle right now, a miracle today, a miracle. Whoa. Right now, a miracle today, a miracle. I receive a miracle right now, a miracle today, a miracle. Whoa, oh, 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 a miracle already is, will show it's already here. Your wishes and hopes become a miracle for real. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I expect a miracle right now, a miracle today, a miracle. I receive a miracle right now, a miracle today, a miracle.